alive.
I mean, and it follow you around everywhere you went.
Yes.
I mean, there was one lady, and I tell you something. I'm sure a lot of you remember Beulah.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh, she would follow us everywhere. I mean, she's the only person I ever saw get in Hulk Hogan's face, basically, and Hogan not slap her down. and I tell you, lovely Laura, my friend Laura, she loved Beulah. They were such big buddies. You know, bless her heart. She's gone now too. I mean, everybody's dying.
Yes.
You know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, fans, if you're, we've just cut in here just a moment ago here on Facebook and YouTube, and we're continuing Wrestle Talk tonight as we had a time restraint where we moved to Thursday of this week instead of on Wednesday. So we appreciate you sticking around here, Wrestle Talk Live. Jackson, we're going to continue our time here tonight with Joe Kazana. And what an interview this has been so far. And I feel like I've kind of spoke the whole time.
No, you're great.
But,
you did. I mean, he spoke the whole time, didn't he? Well, I got to get out of character. I don't need to be a heel anymore, man.
How does one get? I can't get out of character.
Listen, as you get older, you'll get out of character.
Yeah.
Every time that you wake up in the morning and you think that you're really Jackson Black, you're gonna think, oh my God. What did I do to my body? I get up every morning, especially in the wintertime. This is what's really good. In the wintertime, I got to get up. When I get in the shower, that's when I can loosen my hands.
Oh.
That's just how bad it is when you get older. And you got that, and you guys got that to look forward to as well. You know, I mean, the hips, the knees, the shoulders, the fingers. I mean, your whole body does. I'm just telling you, the bald head, it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
It's already here.
Just don't ever bleach your hair.
Been there, done
Don't have
that.
to worry about that one.
Well, guys, continuing here tonight, Jackson Black. You know,
That's my name.
there's so much that I mentioned here for this interview with training. You know, and you described your training, which a lot of the veterans describe their training that way. I remember hearing an interview, of course, when Sensational Sherry was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, where her trainer just smacked her, man.
Oh, sure.
And
sure.
were the trainers like that back? Some of the ones you mentioned,
Oh
were
my
they?
gosh, yeah.
Oh man.
Lord, yeah. I mean, listen, if we were getting out there, and I'm going to tell you guys something. My class, we had 20 people that started in my class. When it was all said and done, it was me and Tommy Pittner. we were the last two.
Pittner.
We were the last two men standing. Tommy, and if Tommy's watching this, text me. I'll get you over. But no, I just saw Tommy a couple of weeks ago, and I saw Donnie Lucas a couple of weeks ago. People remember Donnie Lucas. They were at the NWA pay-per-view. But listen, if Tom and I were goofing off or we weren't doing what we were supposed to do, then we had to feel the wrath of Rick. And the wrath of Rick was basically shoot wrestling for 30 minutes. And there was no let up. There was no nothing. And he could go. That guy could go. He would never hurt you. But I'm going to tell you guys something. The horror stories that come out, you know, from guys that's been around, you know, as long as I have, I mean, they're true stories. They're not BS. It's true. I mean, Matt Suda did break Hogan's leg, you know, just to keep him from going into the business. You know, the old guys didn't like that. Now, we're a little different. But, again, this is the world we live in now. But back then, there was no crying to mama. There was no crying to the office. There was none of that, man. You just suck it up and you just win, you know. And that was it.
Jackson Black, I know training today, as he's described, is much different than back then. Can you ever imagine Dr. Tom walking up and just smacking someone?
Not that he doesn't want to. You know.
Or have you seen it? No,
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And I've only seen him probably raise his voice maybe on a handful of occasions. But, like, it does put you right in line when he raises the voice. I'd say it's way different, though. And I've done a lot of sports. I've done jiu-jitsu. I've done boxing. I've done karate. I have never been more blown up in my entire life than running his, like, was it 5-5-5 drill?
The 5-5-5 drills? Yeah.
And then that led into this man in the middle thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome. That one I liked. But 5-5-5 or going, like, doing a 60-minute match. When you're not ready for a 60-minute match, a 60-minute match is... It's a lot. It's a lot. And you know that... And we're just training, so it's and we're just learning. So at least 45 minutes of
You know,
garbage.
you say talking about blowing up. You're blowing up just in training. When was the last time you did a TV match? I mean, a legitimate television match.
Never.
Okay.
Might be an opportunity.
There's a couple of our younger guys, great shape. We gave them 10 minutes for television. I'm not going to mention their names, but we gave them 10 minutes for television. After the first 3.5 minutes, they were blown.
They go really fast.
They were blown. You don't realize just, how much time 7 minutes is,
Yeah.
how much time, 5 minutes is. But when you give somebody 10 minutes for television, you got to pace yourself just like you would for a normal house show. But even at the 7 minutes, you're talking at 2.5, 3 minutes. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of shape you're in. I don't care if you're the greatest football player on the field that can run a 4.5
It will humble you.
Yes.
Well, guys, we also have some other folks with us here, and of course, this is continuing on our Facebook, YouTube. We have the Cruiserweight Champion of ETCW, co-champion rather, Rex Riley, the
You don't have to
ravishing
take
one.
that.
You know, I'm 3-time cruiserweight champion.
3.5.
I'm just trying to stir the pot.
3.5.
That's a shirt. If I ever-
3.5. It's okay.
Hey, we can here soon might set a wrestling ring up out here. You never know. But guys, tonight also we have Connor here, Dr. Conrad, and I want
I'm still the doctor.
That's my best friend.
That's his best friend. He
This
works
is your
with.
best friend. Yes.
I'm Connor Rollins.
Two different guys.
Are you
Yeah.
a doctor?
Dave knows
Dave-
Dr. Conrad.
I do.
Have you seen?
Are you a chiropractor?
Medical professional?
Yes, I am.
He's a
Oh,
chiropractor.
yeah,
See,
he is.
there we go.
Ah,
Money. Professional.
Everybody's
man,
favorite
please
doctor.
joke it.
he's the.
You know.
Yeah, man, I
put it
get
that
it.
way.
I get it.
Well, guys, speaking of some things that I want to bring up today, gimmicks, tag teams, names,
Yeah.
and we won't keep you much longer.
Nah, man, I'm here
Uh,
for the duration.
Back in the day, very similar to this day and time, wrestlers, they have a story to tell, and the characters back then, of course, in my opinion, based on today, a little bit more intimidating. You had guys like Rowdy Rick Connors and the Spoilers, and the Jeremiah, of course, there was
Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser.
Dick the
Oh,
Bruiser,
yeah. Well.
and the Mongolian Stomper.
Oh, I've got a great
celebrated.
story about him. I'm not going to tell it.
Well, we'll have to try to, at some point in time, we're going to actually, what we're going to do, and something I've been brainstorming about tonight, is I would like to get a panel. Maybe we can set this up possibly at the fair. I'll have to talk with someone. Not a show, not a wrestling show necessarily, but a panel of guys, because we're going to be taping an episode of Wrestle Talk out there. I don't know how hard it would be to get, like, Rick Connors. I saw Rick Connors just a while back, and we had just a brief conversation. But would love to get him. Would love to get Tim Horner, Tony Anthony, Joe Kazana, and
That's a
Tom
heck of a
Pritchard.
panel.
Oh, Doc.
Ooh,
Doc
boy.
on there?
And the fans at the fair. We had wrestling at the fair with Tennessee Mountain Wrestling for several years with the K-Town Daddy, and then nowadays, of course,
what?
there's no wrestling currently. The K-Town Daddy.
Okay.
Yes. One of our, of course, Wrestle Talk founders. But I would love that. I think it would be great.
I'm in.
Yes, we'll certainly speak about that. Jackson Black, any questions tonight? Anyone here with questions for Joe? I'm full of them tonight. I'll try not to ask too much.
Ask away, guys. I
Full
mean,
of
that's why I'm
something.
here.
Joe Kazana mentioning before, you've been in some great tag teams. You and Chris Powers, you and Johnny Meadows. So what are some of the tag team names that you guys had in the past?
You talking about our names or the guys that we wrestled?
Just the tag teams, your names as far as your
well,
tag
of course,
team.
Johnny and I were the Paradise City Rockers.
Yes, that's the one I was looking for.
Yeah, off and on for years and years and years. Again, it just depended on whether or not we needed a heel at the time. Johnny could never pull the heel off. As much as we tried, Johnny could never pull that off. People just loved him way too much. Me, on the other hand, I was a brash, loudmouth. Regardless whether I was a face or a heel, I was still me.
Sounds like somebody else.
Yeah, I was still me, and I still had the
yes.
blonde hair. And the blonde hair, just listen. Johnny and I were a good team. We really were. We went up and down the roads together. We wrestled against some of the best wrestlers in the world at the time. But again, like I said, Chris and I, he's my favorite partner by far. Chris and I, we wrestled a lot of teams. I mean, from Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden, we wrestled the Road Warriors. We wrestled, my God, Ricky and Robert, the Riches, the Armstrongs. I mean, the list could go on and on with the guys we worked with. The Wendell Cooleys of the world. It could go on and on. But see, there's another tag team that I was in that you guys don't mention a whole lot of. But if you watch the little film that you had on your show, I guess might have been during the week, you might have posted it, the chicken wire cage match.
Oh, man.
I was a member of the Devil's Duo with Doug Vines.
Yes.
And it was a short-lived tag team with Doug Vines. But Doug and I, we wrestled against that brand of the Paradise City Rockers, which was Johnny Meadows and Johnny Rayner.
Yes.
And
Johnny Rayner, really?
Yeah, Johnny
Man,
Rayner
I like
was.
to hear about this.
Rayner was the third member of the Paradise City Rockers. Whenever I would turn, which was a lot, and I'm sure that your mom over there could probably attest to it, Rick Cannon
Yes.
would step
One of the
in,
greats. Yes.
and he would be the alternate rocker at the time. When Rick was unavailable for this one particular show, we put Johnny Rayner in black and pink, and we just brought him out as one of the rockers. And that was one of those nights. It was it was nuts. We were doing, if I'm not mistaken, we were doing a tag team tournament that night, and Chris and I were actually. We came out in the Los Lobos gimmick, doing the whole Mexican hat dance and this and that. Everybody knew who it was, but we had to do it because we had to have teams. But the main that night was that chicken wire cage match, and I think Bill pretty much threw that thing together that day. I don't think he had any idea of what what he was going to do with it, and I think that. He put it together that day, and I'll tell you something. It was, if you watch, you can see everybody holding that thing up there. 'Cause when I threw Johnny into it the first time, that one side at the stadium side just started to collapse, and I had never seen Bill Needham run so fast in my life. But he ran over there and he grabbed the cage, and he just held it there, and that was a lot of fun. But Chris was always my favorite partner. He and I wrestled together, not a lot with a manager, but Terry did manage us for a while.
How in the world did that
It didn't.
come about?
Well,
And how long did it last? Not long.
it didn't last long. For what it's worth, like him or hate him, he was entertaining. And I'm going to tell you, with Chris, like I said, Terry managed us for a little while, but Izzy stepped in, and Izzy started to manage us when Doug and Jeff, the original Devil's Duo, when they decided they didn't want to wrestle anymore. And then we had this big, long-standing feud with the Mongolian Stomper and the Gladiator, Colin West. And everybody knows Colin. A great wrestler back in the day. God, he was strong, about as strong as Archie was. And I'm going to tell you something, wrestling those guys, that was a lot of fun. To go back to the Stomper deal, first time I wrestled him, I was scared to death.
Oh, yeah.
I had been in the business about a year, and I was absolutely scared to death. And my good buddy Deke Rivers put me in the match with him.
Deke Rivers.
And he put me in the match with him, and like I said, I was scared to death. And Archie put my mind at ease. He came, sat down. He said, "This is what we're going to do, kid." And he said, "We're just going to go out there and have fun." And that's what we did. And after that, man, wrestling with him was it was so much fun. We darn near caused a riot at Fulton High School one night. Chris and I against Archie and Colin. We jumping on the football field, jumping off the football field, fighting through the crowd. You remember that night?
Yes.
Yeah, there was about 500 people at Fulton that night. We were outdoors on the track, and we separated all the ringside. Archie threw me up and over about 5 rows. Colin did the same thing to Chris, and it was kind of like, my God, is this match ever going to end? And but yeah, Chris was always my favorite, and we wrestled against every big name good guy team probably at that time. I mean, like I said, the Armstrongs, the Fullers, the Goldens, the Gilberts, all these guys. But that was a lot of fun. But Johnny and I, we he and I had our fun, babyface fun,
A
So
moment ago, you mentioned Big Bill Needham and
Big Bill.
Big
Yep.
Bill Needham, great influence on your career. Actually, my mother and I just probably a little over 20 years ago had the opportunity to visit him in Baptist Hospital, which is unfortunately no longer there in downtown.
Yeah, I saw that coming across the bridge. Where'd it go?
I know, it's very nice. I'd like to live there. That's a nice place. But we had the opportunity one night to sit in the room and talk to Bill. This was not before he passed, but when he was facing some health challenges back then. And he shared some similar stories with us about Chris Powers. He said, you cannot tell Chris Powers not to do something because he's going to do it anyways.
He's going to do it to spite anybody. I got to the point that I would just tell Chris to just do whatever you want. I don't care. Just do whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I quit trying. But no, Chris was one in a million. I still talk to him to this day. He's had some health issues through the last few years, but I'm gonna tell you guys something. I don't care. He could probably still get in the ring and absolutely outwork just about anybody in the business. Honestly, when I was there for his WWF tryout, and he's the only guy that I ever knew that turned down a contract. Chris did, and I mean, Mr. Fuji was watching what he was doing. I was working out with him, and I was still young, really young in the business, and we were up in Jefferson City, and Chris had a great workout. He did well, and like I said, he's the only guy I ever know that turned it down, and he could have gone so far in this business, and he would have been. To this day, I still think he probably would have had an agent job up there because he was that good. So
I'm going to bring up Bill Needham real quick. Bill Needham, of course, longtime TV host of Wrestle Talk. He actually started the show back in 1997, and ring announcer, promoter, a variety of jobs. How back then, working with Bill, because unfortunately I don't get to hear this a lot from other than Dave.
Right.
How was it working with Bill? What was your relationship like?
Bill and I never had any kind of issues or anything like that. I mean, back in those days, we actually had an office.
Yes.
All-Star Championship Wrestling had an office, and it was at his old printing shop. I mean, I had a desk there, if you can believe it.
Mal Brogan Printing Company.
Chris and I were booking for him. And Chris and I would go down there and we'd do our thing, and but hanging out with Bill was Bill. I mean, he was just one of the boys. That's just the only way I can describe Bill. He never had any harsh things to say about anybody. Now we'd kid and cut up about everybody, but nothing that was ever serious. But Bill was a good guy.
I'm going to bring up some venues here, and I want you to try to, and I'll just do a couple, try to dig up a memory from one of these venues. The Roundup Club on Nashville Highway.
It's a bar.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Roundup Club, of course, is where they had, they did some matches out there.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know all about those matches they did out there.
Definitely a interesting. Joe Bivens, Bill Needham, and I can't believe we went there as a kid, but it was a lot of fun.
I can't believe they let you in.
I know,
as a
right?
kid.
Speaking of which, lovely Laura, you mentioned her earlier, a part of those events back in those days. And another venue we'll bring up right there on Nashville Highway is the River Breeze Drive-In.
River Breeze Drive-In. Oh my God, that was. Honestly, those were some pretty good shows then. Yes. at that place. I mean, they weren't bad at all, and it was nice working outside.
Oh, yes.
Working outside is a lot of fun.
Today would have been terrible.
Listen, we worked a show. God, I can't remember the year, but it was the month of December, and it was in Kingsport, and I worked with Jimmy Golden that night, and we came to the ring in sweats and a sweatshirt. It was cold, and honestly, all we did was move. We could not stand still. I mean, if you spit, it turned to ice. It was that cold. Those two places. I mean, those are the two places you remember.
Yes, I grew up going
Yes.
to there, of course.
Those are the two places you remember?
The YMCA over there, and not the police academy, rather, over
No,
there.
Moses.
Oh, Moses Street, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The Moses place. We used to pack that place out.
Yeah.
We used to. I mean, we have some knockdown dragouts in that joint. I remember that well.
And the place on off Magnolia, what was it called?
The Phyllis Wheatley Y.
Oh,
The where?
The Phyllis Wheatley YMCA.
That was I was already gone by
Yeah,
then.
and the junction up there.
Oh, I remember the junction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put Tommy Pittner's head in a bass drum one night up there, and he hit me with an electric guitar, and I thought we were going to have to pay for the darn things.
I drug my boys everywhere. Everywhere.
You guys are hearing a voice of course, my mother, longtime wrestling fan, Miss Cindy. And Jackson Black, we're going to do about 5-6 more minutes here. Any questions at all tonight? You guys back there, you guys jump in here.
No, you keep
You
doing
didn't do
it
your research. I mean, honestly, you should have gone back about 40 years, man.
You know, we're going to be on the road tomorrow, going to wrestling shows.
You need to
and,
educate him.
we're gonna have we're gonna talk about some old time days and listen to some. Hey, I usually hear about all the new stuff going on, but it'll be a real interesting conversation.
It should be. Where y'all going? 127?
127 Pro Wrestling,
Oh,
Grimsley, Tennessee. It's
okay.
a.
Oh, I know where it is. I know the folks out there.
Well, I'm gonna bring up some names
Okay.
to you, and
Okay.
I just kind of want to see your reaction. Sweet Marvin Gaye.
Sweet Marvin
Yes.
Gaye. I remember him well. Don't remember a whole lot about his wrestling ability because I don't think there was anything there. No, I'm just being a heel. No, I remember him. Good kid,
Buddy Landell.
legend,
Yes.
legend. I can't say enough about Buddy. A lot of us went to the same high school together here in Knoxville. I mean, you pull me, the dirty white boy, Buddy Landell, all out of Fulton High School, you've done something. But no, Buddy Landell is a true legend in this business. The only man that should have been world heavyweight champion and wasn't.
Keith Hart.
Keith the Dreamer Hart.
Yes.
The matches I've had with Keith Hart. Oh dear Lord! When he was a police officer in Nyota, I used to speed through Nyota just so he'd pull me over. I mean,
I love it.
that's a true story, and I could never get Keith Hart to pull me over. No, Keith was a great wrestler. Pound for pound, probably one of the best wrestlers in the whole area. I mean, the guy was, 5'8", he weighed about 195 pounds. He could have took your cruiserweight title, I believe, back then. But no, Keith was really, really a good athlete, and he could go.
The Wild Man, Jeff Anderson.
Jeff Anderson, ask him about Ms. Winter's chicken. Jeff Anderson and I, we go back because when we were training, Tommy and I were done. Jeff was in the next class. Tommy and I basically trained Jeff. Jeff, well, he probably still could be, probably one of the best. Good looking, baby face back then with the hair, the beard. That he just had this look about him that was just he drove the women crazy.
Yes.
And then when he became the wild man heel Jeff Anderson, he really drove everybody crazy. But no, Jeff was like I say, I can't say enough good stuff about Jeff.
The Working Man, Johnny Rayner.
He'd stiff you every time you get in the ring. and I only say that because he's not here to defend himself. Johnny was like I said, he was tight.
Yeah.
A lockup with him, you'd walk away with bruises on your arms. But Johnny could wrestle. He would never hurt you, but you knew he was there. But I enjoyed working with him because that's how we broke in.
Johnny Meadows.
Oh, what to say about Johnny? Like I said, he was my second favorite partner. But no, Johnny, I can't say enough good things about Johnny. Johnny and I toured a lot together, and the day, and I hate bringing it up, but it's such a good story. But the day before he went into a coma, we were on the phone together, and we were just talking, and we were shooting the breeze of old times, yada yada, and talking about when he gets out of the hospital. We got some stuff to do as far as some music stuff for the shows, and he told me, he said, Joe, he said, I got an idea. And I said, well, what's your idea, Johnny? And he said, I'm gonna get out of the hospital in a couple of days. And he said, we'll get together. He said, I don't know about this. It was at the time, nobody knew what the COVID stuff was then. He had it so early on, and he said I'll get with you and we'll talk about it. So my theory is his wild idea was a comeback for the Rockers, and since I owned the company, we could probably gotten away with it. But no, bless his heart, man. I love Johnny just like a brother, and I can't say enough good stuff about Johnny.
By the way, tonight's program dedicated to one half Paradise City Rockers, and that was Johnny Meadows, and wonderful, wonderful tag team, wonderful wrestler, and we certainly miss him. Gonna miss seeing him out at the fair every year.
Oh, he was either on fire or he was a dud. I'll say that about him. I used to tell him that to his face. I'd say, Johnny, I said, you're either on fire or you ain't worth a flip. And I didn't use the word flip. It was more vulgar than that. But there was never an in-between with Johnny. He was either on fire or he was bad. There was, but usually he was on fire. So.
All right, two or three more here. Thad Clark.
He was a good-looking kid. I mean, he had legs like Doug Furness. He had the blonde hair, real blonde hair, not like the stuff that came out of the bottle that I used. But he was a really good-looking kid. I don't know whatever got with him. I don't know whatever happened to him. Had a few good matches with Thad. He was greener than grass when I wrestled him, but he would listen. And he did as he was told. And like I said, I don't remember a whole lot about him. I just know he was a really good-looking kid. The girls loved him.
All right, we're going to mention another Powers, but a gentleman by the name of
Mike Powers.
Yes.
Mike Powers, another really good friend of mine. Saw him a couple of weeks ago at the NWA show. He was actually booing me from the third row. And I looked out in the crowd and I said, is that you, Mike Powers? And by the end of the match, I was getting Joe, 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 the babyface chant. No, Mike Powers, I'm going to tell you something about Mike. He is a double tough individual. He can wrestle with the best of them, always could. He was just another one that was in the same line as the rest of us were back then. I mean, the way he was brought into the business, the way he was trained, the way, that we all did our thing. I can't, there's nothing I can say about Mike other than he was as good as any of the rest of us were back then, and I think the world of Mike.
Deke Rivers.
Oh, Deke, Cyclops, and he'll know exactly what I'm talking about when he hears the word Cyclops. Deke Rivers, practical joker extraordinaire.
Yes.
Another quick story. We're in Lenoir City, Tennessee. I get a finish. I've been in the business a year. I'm wrestling Deke for the championship, the Southern U.S. Championship. I get this finish. We get to the ring. Deke calls sunset flip. I sunset flip, and the referee goes. I said, oh, dear God. Quickest 3 count that Jim Bell ever did.
Jim Bell.
Jim Bell.
Oh, my.
Yeah, another one, bless his heart. He's gone now, too. But yeah, it was a really, really fast count. The whole flipping night, the baby faces had their own dressing room. We had our own dressing room. But the whole night, nobody told me any different. Nobody. Me and Rick and Deke rode to the show together. And I'm thinking this is going to be a long ride back to Knoxville. So we get in the car, and by the time we get to the interstate, Deke starts horse laughing, and he said it was just a rib. But that's the kind of guy Deke was. I mean, he'd give me one thing, and then I walk out with a championship and everybody's just all mad. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? But I like Deke. Deke's a great guy. Another one of those same guys from the same, cloth that we were all cut from,
One that we didn't mention, but someone who might come to mind as far as just to name one or two wrestlers.
Okay. You got anybody?
Anybody? Yes.
What about you, Dave? You've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Well, let me talk about Don Wright for a minute.
Oh, yes.
I wrestled Don Wright one time in Powell, Tennessee, and it was an interesting match. First time I ever saw anybody take a clothesline over the top rope, backwards like they do now. That doggone Donnie Wright took the bump over the top rope, hit the ground on his feet, sat down in a chair, and flipped it backwards. Greatest bump I've ever seen in my life. Oh God, there's just been so many wrestlers out there. It's just I guarantee you that I'll miss somebody and I'll make somebody mad. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. There's just thousands of wrestlers I've been in the ring with. And I just, they've not all been great. Believe me, they've not. But just our local guys around here, man, from you didn't mention Tommy Pittner. Like I told you, Tommy Pittner and I were the last two men standing in the class that we had. We would
Out of 20.
out of 20.
Yes.
We would go to Court South and we'd roll around in the aerobics room because it was a padded floor, so we'd shoot
genius.
wrestling there. Then we'd work out and we'd go get in the pool. I think we were the only two yo-yos that would get in the swimming pool with the kickboards and hit each other in the head with it. but we would do that. There's just been so many. Again, lovely Laura. You can't say enough about her either. She used to manage, Archie and Colin when Chris and I were a team, and we had so many good runs with the three of them. Izzy Slapowitz is another one. Great manager. My God, what can you say about Izzy? He could work today. Devil's Duo, same way. Doug Vines, Jeff Sword, they could go today. They were big. There's just so many of them that came through the area. There's just so many guys that I've wrestled. I've been in the ring with legends. Literal legends. From Andre the Giant to Elegante. I've been in the ring with them, and I've had a great career. I can't complain. I had a great run with Jim Crockett Promotions. I had a great run with WCW. I had a great run with Smoky Mountain.
Golden Boy.
Golden Boy. Thank you, Jim Cornette. Yeah. First night in Spartanburg, South Carolina, I worked Tim Horner. We were the very first match of the very first show. Jim had this bright idea. He wanted to put glitter in my hair. So they sprayed glitter in my hair. I walked up with Tim, and Tim couldn't see for the first 3 minutes of that match. So that was an interesting match. But guys, there's been so many legends that I've been in the ring with, and there's been so many legends that made me look good. I made them look good. So there's just too many guys to even mention. But some of the ones that are just in this area, the Chris's, the Deeks, the Mikes, all these guys of the world, Jeff Anderson, you can't say enough good things about these guys. Tommy Pittner, we're in Tommy Pittner's backyard too, just so you guys know that. He's just right down here in Seymour.
Yes.
But there's just been so many guys. It's just too many to mention. I can remember one time where I would try to keep up like Jericho with the matches.
Yeah.
I stopped counting at 600, with the guys that I've worked with. So I couldn't thank 90% of these guys enough for what they did for me, and the other 10%, you know what you can do with yourself, because they would hurt you. But no, there's just so many guys that I came in with that are just either not here now or they need to be here on the show with you guys, like Chris, like a Mike, a Jeff. I know Jeff used to do this show every single week.
Yes.
But there's just been too many to mention.
We just have a couple more minutes left here. I'm going to bring up a memory with Jackson Black. A recent memory is you were wrestling with K-Town Championship Wrestling, and you made a young lady in the audience so upset that she slapped you. Now, you made someone that mad.
Good job.
Is that my fault?
No, I don't know.
I don't think that's my
don't
fault.
know,
If they got
man.
offended by words that were honestly probably true, that's on them. I can't. I just hold up a mirror and they look at themselves and they get mad at themselves. That's on them. It's not my fault that they had 28 teeth between them and an IQ of 86. I'm sorry. I don't make pro wrestling fans. I just am there to entertain them and then take the envelope and leave.
Well, with that in mind, any other moments like that you've had? Just made them.
Yeah, but I can't say them
Is
on.
there-
They're a little too colorful.
To give Joe a moment to think about it, we'll ask Rex Riley back here. Rex, the most recent time that you really made a fan just so angry at you.
Well, I've had one, and it was what I was talking about earlier, when we had the older brother come back in, and he was a special guest referee, and everybody thought he was going to do good and all that stuff, and he ended up turning. Well, one of the ladies that sings down there in Rocky Branch, I'm not going to mention any names, obviously.
Is she any good?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh,
Probably not.
yeah, I would say so.
I had a direct message sent to my dad, who's the promoter, saying that since that happened, they want us kicked out up there, and that they enjoyed the
Got
show.
'em.
They enjoyed the show, but they did not like how the ending was of the main event.
Oh, that means you got him.
They don't
You
ever
know
like
what?
the ending of the main
No.
event.
They know.
Well, Joe, with all that in mind, the moment in your or moments in your career where you just really, really made them upset.
I'm going to give you the most recent one. And honestly, it's not 30 years ago. But God, I used to tick people off. Ask your mom. She'll remember. Last year, I did this little run with School of Morton, and it was me and AJ, Kerry, and Ricky, and basically the go home show, I guess for the fair. I put the Ricky Morton mullet on, and had this the rock and roll stuff, and I got to the entrance, and I did my Ricky Morton single thing like this with my whole hands like like this right here. And his music was playing and blaring and everything else, and I'd be doggone when I turned around. These fans, I thought were going to lynch me. That's the maddest I've seen these fans get at me in what feels like over 35 years. But the kicker of the story is, after all these matches that I did with Ricky Morton, after all the fun that I made of him and Kerry, literally the last pay-per-view they did up there last year, I think it was like in November, might have been October. We happened to be in Greenville for my youngest son plays college football at Tusculum, and we were up there for one of his games, so we went over to the School of Morton for their pay-per-view. Well, they talked me into doing commentary, and these same fans that spit at me and threw crap at me and everything else, they cheered me. When I came out and did commentary, I did absolutely nothing to make these people cheer for me. But that's probably the most recent time that somebody got mad at me was when I pulled their whole Ricky Morton gimmick, and I looked at AJ in the ring. I was doing my typical, brother this, brother that, my Ricky Morton this, and I looked at AJ and I said, "My God, Hoot, you and I just ain't never seen straight." But you just got to understand the little inside joke between Punky and Hoot and all of us. But that was probably the last time somebody got mad at me as far as wrestling goes.
Well, Joe, how can the fans find you on social media?
Social media, nothing. Get down to Sweetwater Friday night. Are you kidding me?
You heard him.
I mean, my God, how could you not come to Sweetwater on Friday night and see this show? No, you can find me on everything. We've got somebody that does our Instagram and our Twitter. But it's what is the Twitter account like hashtag? Is that what it is on Twitter? Is it hashtag or
It's like at.
the @ sign? I think it's at Joe Kazana on Twitter. Instagram is Joe Kazana Promotions. Facebook is Joe Kazana Promotions. So you can go on to the Facebook page. We're almost at 4,000 likes now, if you can believe that. But you go to the Joe Kazana Promotions site on Facebook. And you can check out some of the stuff that we've done. We've got a YouTube channel. You just look at Joe Kazana Promotions on YouTube. You can subscribe to the normal shows on YouTube, or weekly we give a free match out there on YouTube. And I think this last match that we gave was Gustavo and Blanco Loco.
Woo!
So that right there that's worth the price of admission.
Yep.
So get yourselves to Sweetwater because both of them will be there. But no, that's how they can find me. So the Joe Kazana Promotions thing on Facebook, I'll say that I do a little bit on it, but there's a couple other people that do more on it than I do. But like I said, the other stuff we got folks that do that, and they answer questions and everything else. So and if you need tickets, you can always message the Joe Kazana Promotions on Messenger, and usually if they're awake, they'll answer. And we're not talking about me or AJ, but that you can get tickets that way if you can't get on Eventbrite and get tickets, because Eventbrite's been kind of lately. They've got shows up there for me for June 17th, and we didn't even run June 17th. So, but that's how they can find me, man.
Great. Well, fans, be a part of it. That's, of course, Joe Kazana Promotions and the JPWA graduation. This Friday night, Sweetwater, Tennessee, at the 68 Wholesale Arena.
Yeah, you got to get there. I mean, even Channel 10 from Knoxville's going to be down there for this thing. So, yeah, you got to get there.
And it's going to be exciting. You'll see so many great stars in action. Well, Joe Kazana, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you for
tonight here
having me,
on the
man.
show.
Thank you for having me.
And Jackson Black, what a night it's been with Joe here.
Great time.
We can't wait to do this again soon. We can't wait to have you in the studio. We'll try to arrange a panel meeting with a lot of the guys.
Yeah, man, that would be so much fun to do a panel with those guys. I think we'd be yelling and talking and laughing and cutting up so much we wouldn't even be answering any questions.
We'll be keeping people for hours. With
Oh
that
my
one.
God! I think between me and Horner and the White Boy and you know, I think we keep people out there a long time.
Yes. Well, fans, also tonight here on Wrestle Talk, we heard from Rex Riley, the co-cruiserweight champion.
Listen,
of
man, don't be a
ETCW.
co anymore. You need to just go ahead and be the champion.
I am. I mean,
You need to
who
be
owns
the
belt
champion.
right now?
Talk
I am
about
the
Mac
champion.
Murray
Come on.
there.
Who?
Mac Murray.
Oh,
Matt
Mac
Murray.
McMurray.
Oh,
We'll,
God.
leave you with
Oh.
a memory.
My,
God,
my
what-
guy right there.
What to say about Mac? Only guy in the world that would ever come to my shows, and he was never booked. No, God, I love
And he's
Mac.
always grabbing a hot dog and a drink
Yes,
at the concession stand.
Mac and I have been friends. I mean, forever, and I miss Mac. He, God, yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because I didn't think anything about Mac, and I should have. But no, Mac, yeah, referee extraordinaire. In his time, between him and Ronnie West and guys like that, man, those guys could ref. Those guys could go. And being a good referee, you know, that right there is every bit as important as being in the match as a wrestler.
Yes.
Because 9 out of 10 referees are pro wrestlers. And Mac could wrestle, regardless of what anybody said. Mac could wrestle. But yeah, I miss Mac. He was a good friend of mine, and I can't. You know, it's like I said, it's just you're bringing up all these guys that I came in with and hung out with, and now they're all gone. You know, and it's sad, but you know, life goes on. These young guys, I mean, all the young guys at JPWA down at JCP, this is your future. You know, the AJs, the Kensies of the world, the Riley Rockets, these folks back here. My personal chiropractor right here, Jackson Black. I mean,
that's good.
this is the future of pro wrestling. I mean, this is where it's going to go. Guys like me, I'm a fossil, you know. And when I come to a dressing room, it's like, God, why is that old son of a gun here? You know, and that's cool. I get it. I used to do the same thing. But the one piece of advice that I would give every young professional wrestler out there is, when guys like me come around, pick our brains, you know, talk to us, understand the wrestling business, because a lot of the young guys don't understand what the business is all about. It's not about flip-flopping and flying. It's not about being a spot monkey. It's about professional wrestling. And all, you know, when the older guys come around, man, just, you know, talk to them. Don't be afraid to talk to them. I mean, it's like I walk into a dressing room, I see Mongolian Stomper, I'm going to go talk to the guy. You know, still to this day, if I see a Ric Flair in the dressing room, I'm going to pick Rick's brain. I've known Rick for years and years and years, and God bless you, man, for getting in the ring at the end of July, man. I you know, better you than me, because I sure wouldn't do it, and I don't have a pacemaker. But, I mean, I would pick his brain to this day. Arn Anderson's another one. I would love to sit down and talk to Arn. You know, I hadn't talked to Arn in 5 or 6 years, but pick their brains, because these are the guys that's been where you want to be. You know, and whether we were world heavyweight champions or whether we, you know, made them look good, if it, you know, we were there. And that's what the young guys should do. You know, always don't be afraid to approach them, because I mean, it's like you and I were talking, you know, and you were apprehensive about getting in touch with me. Dude, there's no reason to be apprehensive. I'm just a normal guy.
Yes.
You know, just because I've been wrestling for 250 years, it means absolutely nothing. But yeah, just take an opportunity to pick their brains. That's the only piece of advice that I'd want to give a young wrestler, because honestly, all these guys are good. I mean, they're good at what they do, or they wouldn't be doing it. But the older guys have been where you guys want to be. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And I appreciate being on here after 22 years. It's amazing. But,
Yes.
thanks for having me.
So one question we got actually online is about your ring here. So we know I saw some photos with it, but tell us a quick story about the.
This is the AWF Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame ring.
Yes.
Very
nice.
I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. Myself, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Peggy Lee Leather, Bambi. I know those are some names from the past that I'm sure you remember. Maybe some of you younger guys know who we were, but we all and Paul Lee. We all went into the AWF Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and that was interesting, especially being out there and a sold out crowd, and it's just regardless of what hall you go in, not everything's about the WWE Hall of Fame or not everything's about the WWE. Support your local independent wrestling. That's a great T-shirt. Oh, wait a minute, Collar and Elbow's got that. But honestly, support your local independent wrestling because, quite honestly, can anybody really afford $100 a ticket? It's tough. You come to a Joe Kazana show, you pay $12. I don't know what a lot of other people charge, but it was an honor to go into the Hall of Fame. It was an honor having both my sons induct me into that Hall of Fame. But I'll leave this as well. Watch for a brother tag team in the not so distant future.
Hey, you heard it here on Wrestle Talk, folks. All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much for having us being
having
here
you
with
on my
us.
show tonight.
This is-
I kind of took your show over a
We
little bit.
we had
but,
Michelle Green a while back, and she sit right in the middle of the
Well, sure
studio.
she did.
Trying
This
to
is-
steal my whole thing. Not happening. Nah. Sorry, Michelle.
This is Michelle.
You just need to
Green's
let her
show.
just do her thing, man. Michelle
She changed it.
Green.
She changed it.
Michelle Green is another one. I should have brought her up earlier. She's another member of the women's division down at JCP, and
She's great.
as soon as she gets herself back from Switzerland, she'll be back and ready to roll. She'll be back in a couple of weeks. I got a message from her yesterday, so looking forward to having her back.
Well, fans, thank you so much for joining us here on this extra Wrestle Talk interview with Joe Kazana and, of course, Rex Riley and Connor and Jackson Black.
That's
And
me.
Jackson, it's been a great night tonight. We look
It's been a
forward
great
to seeing everyone next
Remember,
week.
Take that belt for yourself.
And
I got you.
fans, be sure to log on to our Facebook page. By the way, real quick, we're going to dig up some photos of Joe from back in the day, and we'll feature those on our page. And we're also going to bring up some photos and videos of some folks mentioned tonight. Beulah is best known on WCW television as being the only fan that I've ever seen actually smack Hollywood Hulk Hogan on a Monday Nitro show. That took place right here in Knoxville.
Yep, she sure did.
So that video is available, and we'll put that on our Facebook page, and then we'll dig up some other things for you. But Joe, thank you again. What
Appreciate
a great night this has been. When you're having fun, time flies. Bill Needham always said it. I know it's the other way around, but that's the way he always said it. And we appreciate you joining us tonight. And we'll see you live this Wednesday from KCM TV in beautiful downtown Knoxville.
With Chris Powers.
With Chris Powers. But for tonight, good night,
That guy.
Knoxville. Thank you, Dave Jones. And thank you, Wrestle Talk fans. We'll see you next week.